Everyone, let's get underway. Let's take care of some business that is outstanding, which we have to resolve, which is to finish the Tosafot that we're looking at on Chaf Vav Amud Bet, and then the journey together into the unknown, particularly into the new Mishnah that's so unknown, but to try to parse some of what that Mishnah stands for, and some of what it aims to communicate. Because we're coming to the headquarters of the actual mitzvah of yeshiva basukka. So we're gonna get there momentarily. Now, I want to just shore up something that I mentioned last week. Art was not on the call with us, but did send me an email, and I did want to clarify because I didn't speak precisely, and he caught me on it, which is good. Keeps me honest. Got to find the volume now. I have so many volumes open all over the house here. Here we go. The Shulchan Aruch in Siman Kuf Nun Chet in Orach Chaim deals with the question of Netilat Yadayim, and just referencing our conversation from last week where we talked about washing, benching, etc. So the Shulchan Aruch writes that if a person is going to eat a very small quantity, the Shulchan Aruch says that if one is going to eat less than a kezayit, so there are those who hold that you don't even have to recite Netilat Yadayim for that. A bracha rishona you'd still have to make on the bread, but you wouldn't require Netilat Yadayim. Why? For those who are doing the Daf HaShavua and Masechet Chagiga, you know that objects that are small, food objects that are smaller than a kibetza are not really shayach l'tuma. And therefore, there was no gzeira for the notion of the requirement for Netilat Yadayim in terms of srach truma was not enacted. Then, even though there is a statement this way in the Shulchan Aruch, the Mishnah Brura points out that it's not really considered eating, because less than a kezayit. Remember, we had a machloket, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda maintains you need to eat a kibetza in order to require Birkat Hamazon. Rabbi Meir disagrees, says a kezayit is enough. But if you eat less than a kezayit, even Rabbi Meir would say you don't bench on that. And therefore, if a person was to eat less than a kezayit, at least as far as the Shulchan Aruch is concerned, he quotes, there are those who maintain, there are those who say, one would not require until you die, but the Mishnah Brura writes that it's true that even though the din is Ein Tzarech Natila, that's how the Taz paskins, that's what the Bach writes, that's what the Gra says, the Birkei Yosef, and it's the name of the Rashbats, the Lachem Chamudot, and the Magen Avram, the Eliezer Rabbi, and other Achronim, but they do chime in, these latter people, again, the Lachem Chamudot, the Magen Avram, the Eliezer Rabbi, and other Achronim, that even less than a kezayit, you really should treat it as less than a kibetza, meaning you should wash your hands, Netilat Yadayim, but not make a bracha on such a thing. And l'chatchila, person should be machmir about this. Now, it's highly unusual that we would be in a circumstance where we'll be eating bread less than a kezayit. Like, it's not always entirely clear. We've talked about this a little bit over our time together, both in this Masech, the previous Masechtas. You know, the Shiurim themselves are sometimes hard to figure out unless you're sitting with some kind of a measuring cup. You're not usually doing that. Luckily for us, kibetza, kezayit. So we maintain that a kezayit is around the size of an egg. You know, when you go to the store, there's a large egg, there's a jumbo egg, there's a medium-sized egg, the small egg. So which of it is it? Well, figure out based on the volume what a kibetza is. How much is a kibetza? So there also, we talked about this last time. You can look it up in various Sifrei Kodesh. It tells the exact number. A kibetza is 57.6 milliliters. If that's helpful to you, great. Rabbi Chazon Ish holds about 100 milliliters, 99.5 milliliters for a kibetza. Kezayit is 28.8 for Rabbi Chaim Noah and 49.8 for the Chazon Ish. Go figure that out. Yeah, so you're going to dance on the line mostly. So you don't know how much you're eating. You shouldn't. I think you shouldn't take a chance. And with these kinds of things, unless you have a great eye. And therefore, if you're kaveh suda, so you're going to make sure that it's going to be on at least a kezayit. So there's washing with a bracha, there's benching, etc. So that's just keep in mind. Thank you, Art, for pointing that out and keeping me honest. We have some work to do still in that Tosafot. What happened was, I think George Lennon, I don't know if he's on the call right now. Is he on the call? No. So when George was on the call last week, he asked me, what if it's less than kezayit? I said, well, you wash. I forgot to say, you don't make a bracha. So it's good to have that clarified. Let's go back to Tosafot. where we were previously. We were up to the words with the Inyan Shtia. If you want to see it in the Gemara, you're welcome to look at the Gemara itself. It's on the page on Chav Vav Amud Bet. You can find it. It's a long Tosafot, so it's toward the bottom. Ten lines up, 12 lines up, about 12 lines up, and it's going to start with the Inyan Shtia. Maybe a little higher. Yeah. The first words on that line are Habayit Ochlin Pitan. Then comes the next one, and Tosafot, as is usually the case, because the printers of the Vilna Shas probably took it from the manuscript, which was also probably just run-on sentences. But the way we live today, if you bought a book and it didn't have any margin and everything was a run-on sentence, it'd be harder for you to read. So make it a little easier. Why not? We can. So I have that on the screen. I've highlighted the beginning of that section. Want to watch with me on the screen? It's maybe a little bit easier to see it there. So until now, we've talked a little bit about the issues surrounding the amount that we required for a bracha achrona. We talked about some of the issues, and we went back and forth on that. We saw the compare and contrast with what we mean when we talk about a beria, the comparison with Rabbi Yochanan's story in the Bavli, the Yerushalmi. Then we got into the issue of the bracha achrona. Now we're up to the issue of shtia. Spoke about food. Now we'll talk about drink. Okay, everybody with me? We're good? Yep. Let's get started. Okay? And if it's okay, I'm going to mute everybody. If you want to speak, please just unmute yourself. Don't be bashful. I just want to make sure there isn't so much, I'm hearing like some distortion on the line. I don't want to crowd anybody out who's trying to listen in. So, okay, here we go. Don't take it personally. I muted everybody. Okay, ready? So let's go. The Inyan Shtia, Nirishim Avarchana Kazayit Yayin, Al Hagafen Val Pri Hagafen. Now, right here, the word kazayit is already, what's a kazayit? A kazayit is a volume. So, of course, you could say, well, it translates to liquid. Aren't there density issues and the like? Kazayit is roughly a ravit. Not exact, it's roughly. The exact comparison.
Rabbi, isn't that what we just did at Pesach when we said the Al Geffen right after the Kiddush?
On the fourth cup.
Right.
Yeah, but that's already, but that's even a different din. Because on Pesach, you have to drink the Rov Kos. And by the fourth one already, people hold maybe if you can down the whole kos, you really should. So that's actually a higher threshold in a certain way. Because it can depend on the amount in the cup. Now, by the by, the revi'it is how much you really have to drink.
Right.
But if you have a bigger cup, you have to drink at least Rov Kos. A revi'it works out to be 86.4 milliliters according to Rabbi Avram Chaim Noah. So that's it's a revi'it is. Sorry, a revi'it is actually larger than a kazayit. It's not a kazayit. I take that back. That's wrong. That's wrong. That was incorrect. It's almost 3 times the size of a kazayit is a revi'it, actually. And here, the language that's used is a kazayit. The amount of a kazayit, again, for Avram Chaim Noah, take his as an example, is 28.8. And for Rav Avram Chaim Noah, a revi'it is 86 milliliters. So it's quite a distinction. But what I want to show you is, here's the logic of Tosafot. Why did they invoke kazayit here? Bear with me, you'll understand, because it's kind of a mixed, it's mixed units. Because kazayit usually refers to objects of food, not to drink. Revi'it is what we use for drink. So why did they say this? And that would be a smaller amount. I'm sorry, it'd be about a third. Kazayit would be about a third of a revi'it. So even that amount of wine, I'll give up again. Why? Do you remember this? For all of us who were together from Masachet Yuma, we learned that the Shiur, where you violate the issue of drinking on Yom Kippur, is where you could fill up your cheeks, which we understood then, I'll remind you now, not as both cheeks, but rather that you filled up one cheek completely. That's actually called Malol Lugmav. Because the assumption is when a person drinks, they don't literally fill up their cheeks balloon-like. So if you filled up one side all the way, it's as if you filled up both sides the normal way. That's the idea. So we note that even though on Yom Kippur the Shiur is only a chashuv Shiur from Milolugmav, when you filled up your cheek, Kita Amar Perak Batra the Yuma, Le'alfina mine birkat hayayin la'acharav. We will not extrapolate from there in terms of the requirement to recite Al Gefen V'Priya Gefen. Why? Teda. The le'inyan achila have a shiur b'yom kippurim kekakotevet, u'le'inyan bracha michayv la'achrav b'kezayit. Sorry, I skipped. You should remember that when it comes to the issue of eating on Yom Kippur, that's the size of a kotevet. Remember what a kotevet is? Kotevet is the size of a date, we said. A large date. It's somewhere between a kezayit and a kibetza. So that's the amount on Yom Kippur that you would violate the Isser deoraita of Achila on Yom Kippurim. But with regard to bracha, mechayev la'achal b'kezayit, the lach Rabbi Meir, the Parishas, we just learned earlier on this very Tosafot that the Gemara in Masachet Brachot, in its discussion back and forth, is actually the subject of the debate. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Meir, we pass Rabbi Meir goes a kezayit. V'it le'man da'amar le'inyan kiddush de'ein tzarich melo lugma, and there are those who maintain you don't need as much as melo lugma because that's a completely subjective amount that was never quantified. If you're a larger person, take a larger sip. If you're a smaller person, take a smaller sip. Everyone holds that ultimately a revit is going to be the standard. If you can't figure out, if you're a humongous person, you don't take a large sip as long as it's a revit. That's about 86 milliliters. So hilkach levarach achrav nami yachaliyot delabayim lugma. It could be you don't need lugma, which is larger than a kezayit. Okay. So umiu tzad hayanir ledaktek the modi Rabbi Meir b'shtia the bay kibetza. You might have thought that really we have to assume that when it comes to shtia, we don't hold to the standard of kezayit, but rather the standard of kibetza. The Perak Shlosh Sha'achlu Darish Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir understands in the Gemara Masachet Brachot that the words v'achalta v'savata v'rachta, Rabbi Meir says it means v'achalta zu achila v'savata zu shtia. V'achila b'kezayit, and according to Rabbi Meir, an achila is kezayit. So if an achila is b'kezayit, what's shtia? Which is v'savata. Maybe it's, going back here, kibetza. In other words, let me say it differently because I feel like I'm tying us up in knots over here. Tosafot say the following: shtia sounds like we should make a bracha achrona on shtia for a kezayit, just like we do for food, where the psak follows Rabbi Meir. The problem is, and excuse me, and even though on Yom Kippur we require malo lugmav in order to violate a standard, if you need a chashuv amount that you drank. But when it comes to a bracha achrona, maybe you have to drink less than that. After all, we do refer on Yom Kippur anyway that the eating standard is also higher. So maybe the drinking standard and the eating standard for brachas is just lower than the threshold is on Yom Kippur for various reasons. By the way, for those of us who learned Masechet Yoma, you'll remember, right? The standard of Kakotevet had its own drasha. The standard of Melulugmav was the Miyatva Daita. In fact, that was how you got the Kakotevet. The Miyatva Daita was you're calmed by it. Some Yishuv Hadat. You were relaxed by having drinks. So that's no longer an Inui HaNefesh. And you violated V'initim and Nafshoteicha. Does everyone remember this a little bit from Yuma days? But the point is, okay, that's a standard. That's a biblical standard of foods that have to be considered a specific amount that is halachically significant. When it comes to food, we already decided how much bread you have to eat, kezayit, following Rabbi Meir. What about drinks? Oh, we'll say drinks is also kezayit. Wait a minute. According to Rabbi Meir, though, let me finish the sentence, so hold on. According to Rabbi Meir, we know that Rabbi Meir, he thinks that actually when it comes to drinking, the standard is kibetza, just like Rabbi Yehuda held about food. Why? Because Rabbi Meir understood v'chalta zu achila, v'savata zu shtia, v'achila b'kezayit. But Rabbi Yehuda in that same Gemara Darish, v'chalta v'savata means zu achila sheyesh basvia, v'ezu zu kibetza. V'chalta v'savata is not food and drink, but rather food which is satiating. How much is that amount? Kibetza. Therefore, since Rabbi Yehuda wants to, Rabbi Meir rather, separates out. V'achalta means one thing. V'savata means another. The act of eating, the act of drinking. Then when Rabbi Meir is insisting that v'achalta equals achila, there he has a standard of kezayit. But maybe for v'savata zushtia, maybe there he's giving a nod to Rabbi Yehuda, that the drinking has to be an amount that is more satiating, which is kebetza. V'chein denafkalan Rabbi Meir shtia mi v'savata. Once we've learned that according to Rabbi Meir, you learn shtia from v'savata imkein by kebetza to laheve svia pachot. Because when it comes to drinks, you have to drink more in order to get to some point of satiation. Unlike food, where a smaller amount will bring you satiation. Maybe really you should split though between eating and drinking. The dima svia b'shtia have a pachot mikabetza. Maybe you could say that there should be a split. You should split between one and the other. That actually, in the world of drinking, you need really less than a kibetza. Maybe that's the chiluk. B'cholani shiurin, but all of these shiurin altogether are no more than derabanan. None of them are deoraita per se. Kedemuchach perak mishameto da'amrinan hacha b'may askinan da'achal shiura derabanan. Well, the inyan bracha de la'achrav l'matzinu shum shiura ela kezayit Rabbi Meir u'chabetza l'Rabbi Yehuda ukra asmachta ba'alma the midoraita be'inan svia gemura. In a word, all of this discussion between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda is strictly a derabanan standard. And deoraita, you need to really eat enough that you are completely full. The Gemara says, really, you have to eat until your heart's content, that you say subjectively, I am full. Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda are darshaning the words of the pasuk midirabanan, and they're coming up with the conclusion that there must be a rabbinic threshold which is actually much lower than kidei svia, which means literally I'm full. Rabbi Yehuda says it's kibetza. Rabbi Meir says it's kezayit. And this whole discussion was about whether we could apply it to liquids or not, which would be a further limud, since that's not v'achalta, it's shtia, v'shatita. So, okay, the Gemara says, no, achila, shtia, it's all the same. Rabbi Meir says, no, it's not. Achila, that's v'achalta, v'savata zu shtia, to show perhaps there are two different standards. V'hada amrina in perak shlosha sha'achlu, Shimon ben Shetach legarmehu da'avad, mashma de'enu motzi achem de'chovatan ad sheyoch lekazayit. Ha bekezayit dagan motzi. Afapi shamalch v'malka mistama achlu k'dei sovan. Let me pause here. I got to tell you a story. There was a king named Yanai. Yanai was extremely wicked. He was very, very upset with the Chachamim. He had them all killed. This is in the days of the Mishnah. Left to him was his beautiful queen, and his queen was the sister of one of the last remaining Tanaim, Shimon ben Shetach. So along came the king was sitting, gorging himself, drinking up a storm, eating whatever it is, and he said, I want one of the rabbis to come and bench for me, to lead the Birkat HaMazon, because it'll bring blessing to me to have such an important person give a bracha. The wife said to him, the queen, you killed them all. He said, there's no one left. She said, there's one person left. To swear to me, you're not going to hurt him if I permit him to come here. And Yanai says, no problem, I take this oath. And she says, fine, it's my brother Shimon ben Shetach. They summon Shimon ben Shetach, and Yanai seats Shimon ben Shetach in the middle of the king and the queen. Along comes the cup of bracha, and Yanai, who is not to be tussled with, says to Shimon ben Shetach, go ahead, bench for us. Say the word nivarech. But you recall, Shimon ben Shetach just arrived at the meal. He hasn't eaten anything. He's not a man you can have many rational discussions with, Yanai, Shchek Atzamot. So what did he do? He basically has a little dialogue, and he drinks the wine. After he drinks the wine, Shimon ben Shetach drinks the wine. They brought him as a kos for Birkat HaMazon. They bring him a second cup, and then he leads the benching for the two of them. Now, he's not saying Birkat HaMazon. He's saying Al Geffen V'Apri Geffen. How come? Because he had a cup of wine a minute ago. So the Gemara wants to understand, how could Shimon ben Shetach have done this? So the Gemara really essentially levels a critique against Shimon ben Shetach, L'garmehu da'avid. He did it for his own sake. Now, did he do it to become famous? He did it because he was trying to save his life, maybe, whatever it is. But the fact that he did it for that purpose and not for the right reasons, so we say, well, it sounds like so in other words, the Gemara says, well, why did he make a bracha of, basically said like Rabotai Nevarech to the king and everyone who was assembled? He was stuck, but at least he drank some wine. Okay, but he did it under duress. He didn't really show us anything. But had he eaten one kezayit of bread or of grain product, he could have been motzi everybody else? Yes, he could have. On a kezayit, he could be motzi the king who ate kedei svia. If you eat just the kezayit, what's your chiyuv in Birkat HaMazon according to what we're saying now? D'oraita or d'Rabbanan? D'Rabbanan, good answer. What is, according to everybody's opinion though, when is it d'oraita? If you eat to your heart's content. The king ate to his heart's content, and the Gemara says, had Shimon ben Shetach only eaten one kezayit, he could lead the benching. Wait a minute. How could that be? Afapi, Shamelach, V'amalka, Mistama Achlu, Kedei Sovan. That's a mystery. How is that possible? It doesn't seem like that should be logical, because normally a person who has only a D'Rabbanan Chiyuv cannot be motzi someone with D'Oraita Chiyuv. The Gemara says that's true, but that's only true if the person was the D'Rabbanan Chiyuv, could not get to the threshold of a D'Oraita Chiyuv now. Who's that? Lodami Gadol D'Rabbanan, Likatan D'Rabbanan. D'Lomafik D'Oraita. D'Hagadol Afil La'achal Klal, Hayaroi Lahotzi Acherim V'chein Pirish Sham Bekuntras. A katan who was sitting with Gedolim, a katan sitting at the table, technically the katan could lead the benching. But we say the katan cannot lead the benching if the Gedolim who are there are Chayavim De'oraita to say Birkat HaMazon. Why? A child under age of Bar Mitzvah is not obligated in Birkat HaMazon De'oraita no matter how much they eat. All their mitzvah are D'Rabbanan. Whether it's the D'Rabbanan of each mitzvah, it's a machlok and also Rishonim. Every mitzvah they do, they get a kiyum D'Rabbanan. Kiyum of tzitzit, kiyum of Birkat HaMazon, kiyum of tefillah. Or every single mitzvah they do is a kiyum of one mitzvah. Chinuch, 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 chinuch. Each time. Whatever the case, nothing that a katan does rises to the level ever of being a kiyum of a mitzvah D'Oraita. That's when we speak a katan versus a gadol. In the case of Shimon ben Shetach, you see that he drank, and after he drank, that he was willing to lead the benching. Fair enough. Even though he was willing to lead the benching, that the truth is that's only because he was under duress. But we do learn, the Gemara says, because I dagan motzi. Had someone eaten no more than a kezayit of dagan, it still would have been enough to lead the Birkat HaMazon. When it comes to this case, therefore, what we're saying is that this person who drank is never really going to be able to trigger a bracha achrona for people who are obligated to oraita. That was Tosafot's point, basically. They brought up this whole subject. And this issue here of Li'inyan Shtia, we're going to back to up here, is a discussion about how much do you need to drink in order to trigger the bracha achrona of the of al gafen v'al pri gafen. And it sounds like what we're basically saying here, is that when it comes to drinking, the bracha achrona really is, just like on food, a kezayit. Even though in certain religious circumstances, Kiddush, as Ira pointed out before, certainly at the Seder, right? Kiddush is Melol Lugmav, the Seder is a Rov Revit, different amounts that one has to drink. So these amounts are for mitzvah purposes, but for al gafen v'al pri gafen purposes, it seems that the lower threshold is going to be sufficient. Even though, don't think that drinking this amount of wine, even though you have al gafen v'al pri gafen, permits you to lead the benching for someone who is chayav in Birkat HaMazon D'Oraita. It's not going to work. Still would require achilat dagan. Even if the achilat dagan is of one kezayit. So in other words, you show up to a meal, three men sit down together. Let's just keep it simple for now. Two men wash, you eat a mezonot. and you ate a kezayit of mezonot. So now you're going to say al michya. Now they say, no. As far as Tosafot are concerned, you can actually say the part of Rabbatai Nevarech, even if you're only saying the al michya. L'maisa, we generally try to steer people away from this, notwithstanding the Bali Tosafot here, to my recollection. We ask people who are going to bench to actually lead the benching, because they're going to say it through the whole way. But that's Tosafot's point here, is that the standard will obtain for liquid, but it's still not going to be enough to lead the benching per se. For that, you would need a kezayit of dagan. It's based on the Gemara in Brachot on Mem Chet. Ad kan for that Tosafot. Everybody still awake? Even the people whose screens are off, I hope you haven't fallen asleep. Okay? That was all old business. A half hour on old business. Now let's get to the new business. Turn to page, whatever we're up to. Chav Zayin Amud Aleph. And we will get underway. The Mishnah. Chav Zayin Amud Aleph. Rabbi Eliezer Omer. Abasri Surot Chayev Adam Lechol B'Sukkah Achat B'Yom V'Achat B'Layla. On Sukkot, a person has to eat 14 meals in the Sukkah. Every day, 2 meals. The Chachamim Omrim, Ein L'Davar Kitzvah. The sages disagree. They maintain there is no limit, by which they mean also it's not just, there's no floor. There's no ceiling either, but there's no floor. No 14 meals. Eat as many as you want. Chutz, Milela Yom Tov Rishon Shel Chag Bilvad. The only time you need to eat a meal, for sure, is the first night of Yom Tov. Ve'od Amar Rabbi Eliezer, Mishalo Achal, the person who neglected to eat in the Sukkah any of the meals, Leila Yom Tov Rishon, Yashlim Leila Yom Tov Achron Shel Chag. Let that person fill in on the last day of the holiday. Now, what's the last day of the holiday?
Must be talking about Shmini Atzeret.
Yeah. According to Rashi, Shmini Atzeret. Automatic problem with Shmini Atzeret in Eretz Yisrael?
Don't eat in the sukkah.
Yeah, so you're going to make up meals, but you're not going to make up in the sukkah?
No.
But that's what Rabbi Eliezer holds. We'll have to try to understand his very strange seeming shita. The Chachamim say you cannot fix this. Upon this, the sage is quoting from Sefer Kohelet, teach us that which is crooked cannot be made straight, that which is perverted cannot be fixed, that which is an absence cannot be numbered. It's a beautiful rhetorical flourish. It's not clear what it means, right? But that's the Mishnah. Look at Rashi, Yud Daled Seudot. Rashi says, to keep us interested, the Gemara Mefarish time. You have to learn the Gemara, we'll find out why. Ein L'Davar Kitzvah, there's no limit. Im Ratza L'Hitanot, Ein Anu Zekukin Lo. If a person wanted to fast, we have no claim against them. Ela Im Yochal, Lo Yochal Chutz L'Sukkah. But if they eat, they cannot eat outside of the Sukkah. Meilele Yom Tov Rishon, She'ein Rashai L'Hitanot, the Gemara says, will teach us, you're not allowed to fast on the first night of Yom Tov. And then in the Gemara further along, according to Rabbi Eliezer, he says, Yashlim, you have to fill it in. Yashlim Sudato Zot, Yom Tov Achron, to Ronnie's point from before, B'Shmini Atzeret. V'afa pi she'ena b'sukkah. Even though you're not in the Sukkah, the Gemara Parachala, the Gemara is going to ask about this, understandably. Let's look together at the Gemara.
Now, I thought you're not. I thought you're not allowed to fast on a Chag at all.
Yeah, it's coming. Don't worry. That's coming. We won't get there tonight, but yeah, another question, for sure. Gemara, my time at Rabbi Eliezer. Answer, Teishvu ke'ein taduru. Madira achat b'yom v'achat b'layla. Afsuka, dira achat b'yom v'achat b'layla. Live in the sukkah. It's exactly the same drasha that Chazal have, midorei dorot. Basukot teishvu, shivat yamim. What does that mean? Live in the sukkah just like you live in your house. And just as you're in your house and you would eat 2 meals a day, back in the day, they had breakfast and dinner, right? Breakfast was lunch, and then dinner is dinner. So that's all you need. Do that as well. We don't have any other expectation, but we don't have a lesser expectation. I mean, you and me were, I think, appropriately conditioned to understand Teshvu Kein Taduru as as applied lakula. You don't have to be more strict in your sukkah than you would in your house. We saw countless examples. You want to go on a trip, you have a dvar mitzvah, right? As you would live in your house. You have to take a business trip on Chol HaMoed. You wouldn't say, I'm not going to leave my house on Tuesdays in July because I don't know what. I have to go. It's my house. So the same thing should obtain for the sukkah relationship. Eliezer's point is, yeah, but there's a flip side. If the standard of how many meals we eat in a sukkah in our houses is 2 a day, why should your standard in that sukkah be any less? It should be exactly the same. V'od Amar Rabbi Eliezer. Sorry, I went to the wrong line. Sorry. Rabbanan. Sorry, the Rabbanan, which is how we actually paskin. It's interesting to see the other side. Kedira, just like a dira. Ma dira ibai achil, ibai lo achil. In your house, if you want to eat, you do. If you don't want to, you don't have to. You're not compelled to. Af sukanami, ibai achil, ibai lo achil. If you want to eat, then eat. If not, then not. So let me ask, what is going on? What is to Rabbi Eliezer? What is his feeling about what you're trying to create in your sukkah through those 14 meals? For the Chachamim, it's what you like. That's what you like to do. You do like to eat it. You don't like to eat. If you want to have a meal, so have it in the sukkah. You don't have a meal, don't have to have a meal. So you don't need to.
He's trying to create a domicile.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you create a domicile? Someone says, well, what do you do in your home? Oh, I sleep in my home and I eat in my home. So one of the great ways of being koveya, I am here now, is eating. Isn't that what we do in the sukkah anyway? Every time you sit down to a meal, leisha b'sukkah. I left the sukkah at hesech hadat. I come back in, leisha b'sukkah. And according to Rabbi Eliezer, how could you have a festival called Sukkot? We're supposed to live in the sukkah as you do in your home. Okay, fine. Sometimes I go on vacation. Sometimes I'm on a business trip. But generally, living in my house means that I'm living in a house where I have 2 meals a day. That's the standard number. So why should I aspire to less? And each time I eat in the sukkah, it's a mitzvah. The whole sukkah is a mitzvah in the sukkah. According to Chachamim, it's up to you. All right? It's up to you.
Rabbi?
Yes.
It would appear that Rabbi Eliezer is creating a minimum of 2 a day.
Yes, he is.
And which would suggest that he's creating a standard to, in fact, assure that you are behaving in the sukkah as your domicile, even though you may not necessarily behave that way when you live at home.
Yes.
And you may
the
not
fact that it's temporary, limited as an option, as an opportunity to be there, only adds for Rabbi Eliezer to the sense that you must be there.
Right.
And the way you signify being there is eating.
Right.
Now, why did he choose eating and not sleeping?
I'm assuming, it's a guess, totally a guess, that it was understood that sleeping was understood.
You could say that. Look with me at Tosafot.
Sleeping.
Oh, sorry, Ira, go ahead.
No, but sleeping, you wouldn't make, there's no bracha for sleep. There's only the bracha leishe b'sukkah when you eat it, when you're koveya suda.
Yeah.
Different. So the difference by sleeping, there's no bracha to sleep in there.
That's true.
Plus, conditions can warrant that it's just too hard to sleep. Whereas you can always find a way to eat.
Right. When you're sleeping, by the way, you don't have an awareness that you're in the sukkah.
Right.
When you're eating, you're awake the whole time, hopefully. So you know what's going on.
Food coma.
Look with me at, right, well, hopefully. Look at Tosafot. Teshvu ke'ein taduru. But Yerushalmi, Yalif, Bigzera Shava. In the Yerushalmi, Rabbi Eliezer's position, suddenly, to me at least, I learned this Tosafot, remember, it's like it turned the lights on. Oh, that's what he's trying to say. Yerushalmi, Yalif, Bigzera Shava. Nemar kan teshvu, v'nemar lehalan, upetach ol moed teshvu yomam v'layla shivat yamim. Where is that pasuk from? I'll give you a hint. You know where this pasuk's from? You know very well where it's from because we talked about this pasuk a lot back in the day.
I don't remember where it's.
You have to think about that. You have to think about like years.
From the inauguration of the Mishkan? Or is it,
What?
Is it either
Yeah, go ahead. You're about to say it.
the inauguration of Mishkan?
Exactly the inauguration of the Mishkan. Exactly the inauguration of the Mishkan. You open up, when you open up Parshat, what is it? Parshat Tzav. There you go. Oh, I have to share the screen. Sorry. Where are we? 1 second. Share screen. One of the things I like about Zoom is the facility with which you can just share things with people. It's great. See this pasuk? Parshat Tzav, Perek Chet, Upetach Ol Moed Teshvu Yomam V'Layla, Shivat Yamim, Ushmartem et Mishmer Hashem Lo Tamutu. What pasuk? What's this from? This is when we learn Masachet Yuma. We talked about the notion of the Zayin Yemei Miluim, the 7 days of inauguration, and then we said, well, the Kohen Gadol who sequestered 7 days in the Lishkat Palhedrin, it's as against, perhaps, there was a machloket, Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish, as against the Zayin Yemei Miluim. Now look at Tosafot. So it's Exera Shav and Yerushalmi between the 7 days of Sukkot and the 7 days of being in the preparation, inauguration, and dedication of the Kohanim who are going to serve in the Mishkan. Now your Sukkah, you know what your Sukkah is? The Mishkan.
Mishkan.
And you just came from Yom Kippur and you're retiring to 7 days of living a higher plane of existence. Every Jew, is how the sermon would go with it. Every Jew could be a Kohen. Not really, but, right? That's what the 7 days are. Therefore, you know why you need 14 meals? Because you're in a state of avoda. And the avoda is expressed, and you see it there in Parshat Tzav, in Perek Chet, the foods they have to eat. The korbanot they have to eat. So you don't have korbanot, you have your food. Now keep going to Rishalmi. So my yeshiva shenamra lahalan asabayit haleilot kiviyamim, just as the dwelling there was a dwelling of day and night, yomam v'layla, the two were connected. Af yeshiva amurakan aseba leilot kiviyamim. Make the nighttime the same as the daytime, i.e., as you have to eat a meal a day, make it 2 meals a day. Now your sukkah is not just to make it a domicile for yourself, but basically Yerushalmi's edition of this story, of this sugya, it's actually making it a domicile for Hashem. What domicile? It's like the Mishkan. Put this together with what we learned years ago now on Daf Hey. Remember we were talking about the 10 tefach high sukkah, minimum height. The Shechina doesn't descend below 10 tefachim, and the actual utility of the kaporet and what that meant and whole blah, 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 yeah. So that's not accidental. Chal shem shamayim al sukkah daf tet. Chal shem shechal shem shamayim al chag chal shem shamayim al sukkah. Chag hasukot asalacha. Remember this? The sukkah has like the status that falls upon it, and you see it right here. Therefore, the time. So that's Rabbi Yochanan. B'tama de Rabbanim Mefarish Rabbi Yochanan b'Shem Rabbi Shmuel Nemar Chamishas v'Pesach v'Nemar Tedvav b'Chag Ma Tedvav v'Nemar v'Pesach Laila Harishon Chova Ushar Kol Yamim Reshut Af Tedvav v'Nemar b'Chag Laila Rishon Chova Ushar Kol Yamim Reshut.
So it's just the opposite on Pesach.
No, wait. The Rabbanan make a comparison between Sukkot and Pesach.
Pesach.
And on Pesach, you're only obligated to eat matzah the first night.
Right.
And the rest of the time, it is, according to pretty much everybody, it's volitional, certainly not obligatory.
No.
Whether you get a kiyum and a mitzvah is actually, the Gra maintains that you get a kiyum of a mitzvah every time you eat matzah, which would beg the question, according to the Vilna Gaon, he does not pass in this way, but following his logic to the nth degree, that would mean you should say, matzah every time you eat the matzah. Just like you say, al leishev sukkah, excuse me, every time you get in the sukkah. We don't do that. But the Gra maintains, and I guess it's sort of a knock on his position, The Gra maintains the bracha every time you have a piece of matzah. It's a mitzvah every time you eat a piece of matzah. So the Rabbanan, their linkage is festival to festival. Sukkot is connected to the holiday of Pesach. Just as the holiday of Pesach has only an obligation to eat matzah on the night of the 15th, so too the eating in the sukkah is obligatory only on the night of the 15th. After that, you don't want to eat a meal, don't be in the sukkah, fine with us. But if you still have to sleep there. But in terms of the bracha and the eating of the meal, that's volitional. Now notice, very interesting, according to Rabbi Eliezer, his view of the sukkah is very much tethered to the notion of a structure built for Hashem. Sukkah, Mishkan. For the Rabbanan, it's about a nexus not between two contexts of space, but of time. Tetvav, Tetvav. Chavraya bo, ima lahalan ad shikanas lamatzik shu ta'aveh, afkan ad shikanas l'sukkah b'ta'avah. Just as you're not allowed to eat matzah right before the Seder, why not? You want to make sure when you get to the Seder, you'll eat it with relish, with gusto, not relish, garnished, but mustard on.
Well, it shouldn't be.
You want to eat it, to be desirous of eating it. So too with the sukkah. They said if you want to draw the bridge between the two contexts, maybe you shouldn't be allowed to go in your sukkah erev sukkahs. And we don't pass it like that, but it's an interesting suggestion to keep carrying it forward. Rabbi Zera ba'i ima lahalan shiochel kizayit dagan matzah afkan shiochel kizayit dagan basukkah. That we do paskin like. You have to eat a kazayit in the sukkah. We'll see that the patur of mitztayer doesn't really obtain on the first night of Sukkot. We wait a certain period of time, but after that period of time, the first night of Sukkot, we'd actually go into the sukkah anyway and eat that one kazayit. Why? Because there's this pressure. Now, this is Tosafot. If you look now back in our Gemara, Tosafot's quoting Yerushalmi, our Gemara also marshaled that same Tetvav linkage about the Chova. It is interesting to see it in the context of Tosafot quoting from Yerushalmi, because now we have a new idea about what it is that Rabbi Eliezer is after. It's not just to make, according to the Yerushalmi's version of it at least, it's not just for the purpose of making sure you set down tracks. So every day, since you would eat 2 meals, therefore you eat 2 meals. But it's even more than that. It's an aspiration to make my sukkah into a mishkan, figuratively and symbolically. Look with me here, back in the Gemara. So the Gemara here makes the point, or asks the question, Ihachi, if so, if the Rabbanan really hold everything is so volitional, eat if you like, don't eat if you don't like, Afilu leili yom tov rishon nami, even the first night also, maybe you don't have to eat in the sukkah. Amar Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rabbi Shun ben Yehotzadak, Ne'emar kan chamisha asar v'ne'emar chamisha asar b'chag hamatzot. No, Tetvav. It's called Tetvav 15:15. 15th night of the month of Tishrei for Sukkot, 15th of the night of the month for the holiday of Chag HaMatzot. Malahalan Laila Harishon Chova, Mikan ve'elach Reshut, Afkan Laila Harishon Chova, Mikan ve'elach Reshut. First night obligatory, subsequent days and nights not obligatory, volitional. The Hatam over there, Minalan. How do we know in the context of Pesach that it's even obligatory to eat matzah the night of Pesach? Amar Kra ba'erev tochlu matzot. Hakatuv kva'o chova. The text itself made it it fixed it on that night. Ba'erev tochlu matzot. Now look at Rashi so we understand, filled out the picture, because Rashi explains to us one of the Yud Gimel Midot Shatorni Drashi Bahan that we say, hopefully, every day in davening. Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Shlosh say Midot Drashi Bahan Mikal V'chol Mizeh Shabbat, right? So now look with me at this. We'll try to understand it together. The mechanics of how it happens that matzah is only obligatory the first night, given the reality that there is actually a pasuk that says, eat the matzah for 6 days. It says so in the Torah, in Parshat Re'eh, I believe. Is it Re'eh? Yeah, I believe it's Re'eh, yeah. So look at Rashi. On the first Rashi in the Gemara and then Rashi, right? Mikan ve'elech reshut. Why is it reshut? After the first night of Pesach. 6 days should eat, the 7th day, cessation. Mashvi reshut. If the 7th day is a reshut, af shisha reshut. All 6 are really volitional as well. When it said eat the matzah 6 days, it means if you're going to eat bread, it must be matzah. Lefi shashvi bichlal shivat yamim tochal matzot. Excuse me. Because the 7 days is in the statement elsewhere of the Torah, eat matzah for 7 days. So why, if it says in one place, eat matzah for 7 days, does it in another place say, on the 7th day, you should cease from eating matzah? The yatsa min haklal, the 7th day was singled out, l'lamed, to teach, shachilat matzah ha'amur bo, eino chova, it's not an obligation, ela im bata le'echol, if you come to eat, tehei achilatcha matzah v'lo chametz. Has to be matzah and not chametz. V'lo l'lamed al atzmo yatsa, ela lamed al klal kula yatsa. The fact that, right, kol davar shel bichlal, v'yatsa min haklal lamed, lo lamed al atzmo yatsa, ela lamed al klal kula yatsa. We would have left well enough alone, says the Gemara, if the Torah would have just said, eat matzah for 7 days. Why later on did it say eat matzah 6 days and not the 7th day? To teach you something about the 7 days. Namely, that truly when it said eat matzah the 7 days, didn't mean literally you're obligated to eat the matzah 7 days. It meant if you're going to eat bread, don't eat bread, eat matzah. Now transfer it over the Chachamim's view here. When it said dwell in the sukkah 7 days, it has to do with a meal. But it doesn't mean literally you have to eat a meal every day. If you come to eat a meal, don't eat a meal outside of the sukkah. P.S. What about the first night of Yom Tov? So the first night of Yom Tov of Sukkot is learned through the bridge of the Gzeira Shava to the world of Pesach, where it says explicitly, eat matzah on the night of the 15th. Follow?
Mm-hmm.
If we have a few minutes left, I'll make some trouble. We can see Tosafot, Iboy Achil, Iboy Lo Achil, because it has some relevance for our Yom Tov coming up as well. It's a Yom Tov after all. The volitional aspect of eating meals.
Hi, Rabbi.
Yeah, Larry, please.
The Tosafot is very helpful, but what bothers me is Teshvu Kein Taduru is an awfully shorthand for what Tosafot says.
Well, we don't paskin like Rabbi Eliezer.
Doesn't matter.
It's too much of a stretch. The Chachamim disagreed with him.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe it's too much of a stretch because we need a Tosafot.
No. But the point is that Tosafot is just saying, by the way, in the Yerushalmi, you should understand how Rabbi Eliezer is described. His position likens the sitting in the sukkah to something we learned from the context of the Zayin Yemei Miluim from.
I understand what's troubling to me is Teshvu Kein Taduru. We didn't live in the Mishkan. Kohanim were there. Rabbanu Shalom is there.
Yeah.
I don't see how Teshvu Kein Taduru supports the position.
The truth is, maybe I'm drawing it out too much. The Teshvu Kein Taduru, the issue of day and night, the fact that it's 14 meals, 2 meals a day, is actually Tosafot explaining for Rabbi Eliezer, based on this idea that the pasuk on Perek Chet used the expression of Davka Upetach Omei Teshvu Yomam V'Layla Shivat Yamim.
Okay.
Dwell there day and night for 7 days.
I understand that. But
again, the Gemara rejected Rabbi Eliezer, so feel free to say I don't accept what he says. That's fine.
All right.
But l'shitato, we try to understand when we're learning more in depth. It's important to understand what's the rejected shita about. It's not rejected that it has no merit. It's for various reasons it was outvoted, but it doesn't mean it's zero. There's something going on there. So that's Rabbi Eliezer's view of it.
Okay, thank you.
We'll see further along by the Rabbi Eliezer has a very maximalist view of the sukkah generally as a possession. He maintains that you don't have any problem of going on a business trip on Sukkot because you can't sit in anyone else's sukkah. Just like there's a mitzvah of that the ulakachtem lachem. So Chag Sukkot taseh lecha. He actually seems to read it as you have to make it, that's your sukkah. You cannot go to someone else's sukkah. It's like it's your place. It's a very maximalist view. So.
Thank you. Okay.
No worries. Now, look with me at Tosafot. Ibai achil, the ibai lo achil. Eat if you want, don't eat if you don't want. Hainu lo achil, hainu meaning, it means here, klal, that you won't eat at all. The achil, because if you do eat, chayav lechol b'sukkah, kedamrin and le'el, if you do eat bread, you have to eat in the sukkah, as we learned earlier. Umash mahacha, we seem to learn about this, the fact that the Chachamim said that if you want, you don't have to eat. Maybe it's not even an obligation to eat on Yom Tov. Maybe if you don't want to eat anything, you could just, you're not obligated to eat at all. Is that true? Chutz milel Yom Tov harishon, except for the first night where we have this drasha that you have to eat matzah, therefore you have to eat in the sukkah, so you have to eat first night, right? Where you have to eat, you'd have to eat bread in the sukkah, and it's Gzer Shava from Pesach. Ulefi zeh. So Tosafot say, if you use that logic that you're not even obligated to eat at all, then let's ask the following question: Im tav v'lo hizkir sheyam tov birkat hamazon ein tzarich lachzor. Then if you made a mistake in birkat hamazon, you forgot to say yalav yavo on Yom Tov, according to this logic, you wouldn't have to go back and repeat benching again. By the way, that's the case on, let's say, Rosh Chodesh. There's a suffix if there's a chiyuv of seud on Rosh Chodesh. Let's say on Sunday. Now, you had lunch, you ate lunch, and you forgot to say yalav yavo in benching. You don't go back. We know, by the way, the halacha is, so you already know the end of the story. If you forget yalav yavo on Yom Tov, if you get yalav yavo, you're going to chol hamoed and benching, you have to go back. You can't just say, well, too bad. It's the time of the Yom Tov. So, but according to this logic, if you don't want to, you don't have to eat. The klal is only the idea here that you could say. Sorry, I lost my place. So right? That it's only when there's some obligation. So then we could say that if you forgot to put in the language of yalav yavo, you have to go back. But there was no obligation to eat. Then l'chatchila, you should say, but if you forget, you don't have to go back, right? So that seems very strange. Very strange. V'ha de amrinan, what about the fact that it says in Parak Shlosha She'achlu, in Mesachet Brachot, Shabbatot v'yamim tovim, d'lo sagile, d'lo achil, right? There is a chiyuv to eat a suda. So imta, and therefore if you neglected to eat, so choser, you have to go back and eat again. As you have to make a birkat hamazon again. Excuse me, I meant to say, right? You left the yalav yavo to go back, but this is challenging because we're saying now, we seem to be saying right here in this Gemara, there's no chiyuv to eat on Yom Tov. If you want to eat a meal, then you have to go in the sukkah. You don't eat a meal, you don't have to go in the sukkah. So what did Tosafot explain? Lo mitukma ela b'leili Yom Tov harishon Pesach. We only established this halacha to go out to the first night of Pesach because there is an obligation to eat. Remember, Erev Tochlu Matzot. But in the Yom Tov Rishon of Sukkot, we learn it from Gzer Shava. So there also you have to eat. But let's say in Yom Tov itself, or on all other days of the Yom Tov, there's no obligation to eat bread. And therefore, if you made a mistake, and you didn't say in Birkat Hamazon, Yalav Yavo, you don't have to go back. V'hada Ashkecha and Beperak Bet the Beitza, or Beperak Elu Dvarim Bepesachim, Gaba Yom Tov. The Yom Tov, by the way, in question is Shavuot. But we have there that in one place the Torah uses the expression Atzeret LaHashem, a day of cessation for Hashem, Elokecha, Atzeret LaHashem Elokecha. In the other place, what does it say? Atzeret Yalachem. So what does the Gemara say there? Chalkehu. Split it. Chetzio LaHashem, Chetzio Lachem. Half of Yom Tov should be for Hashem, learning, davening. Half of it should be for you. Chetzio LaAchil, Chetzio LaBeit HaMidrash. Rabbi Yeshua. And that's actually how we paskin. Chetzi Lashem, Chetzi Lachem. That's what we do. So Tosafot would say, wait, according to Rabbi Yeshua, who holds that there is a Chetzio Lachem side of the equation, it sounds like you are obligated to eat a meal on Yom Tov. So Tosafot would answer, Efsha be'basra upeira. You can eat meat and fruit. And maybe that would be your Suda. You don't have to eat bread per se. As indeed, it seems you're not chayav to eat bread necessarily, and you can just eat those items, shahakol, ha'etz, and then ein ben birkat hamazon v'lebayah azkarat yamtiv. You're not going to say birkat hamazon. You're saying bor nefasha. Let's say it's not the zayin peirot that require ala eitz v'alpriya eitz. So that's going to be that's all you need, and therefore you're eating a suda, but you're not going in the sukkah. And therefore, even if you ate bread, if you made a mistake and you forgot to mention yalav yavo, should not have to go back, right? But that's only on the other days of Yom Tov. But on the nights of Yom Tov, the first night of the Chag, of a Leil Yom Tov Rishon Shel Chag, it's not going to be enough without bread. There you absolutely need bread, since we learned from Chag HaMatzah, Erev Tochlu Matzot, et cetera, right? It's not going to be enough. And therefore, if you made a mistake and you didn't mention Yom Tov in Birkat Hamazon, you have to go back. So Afal Gav the Rabbi Eliezer Amrina Bishar Yamim Im Hishlim Ben Targima Yatsa. Even though Rabbi Eliezer holds that on the other days you have to have 2 meals, it sounds like that you could use fruits, snacks. Doesn't have to actually be a meal. Nonetheless, you should not learn from that or extrapolate from that the first night of Pesach of Sukkot that you wouldn't need bread. You actually would absolutely need bread, right? The fact that we said in this Breita that if you're going to finish with Mini Targima, it'll be okay. So that's not for the Yom Tov Rishon. That's for the Sudot for the rest of the time period of the Yom Tov. If you finished with Mini Targima, it would be enough, meaning you're going to eat meat and fruit and other kinds of snacks, but you're not actually going to sit down and have bread. So that would be okay. By the way, practically, this Tosafot is not la halacha. As la halacha, we say that if you wash, you do have to say a lay shave, but also you would have to mention me'ein ha'ma'ora in the Birkat Hamazon. You would not be able to subsist without it. So that's just a foray into the world of Yom Tov in terms of meals and in terms of thinking a little bit about these subjects. Obviously, there's more to say. There's always more to say. We're always somewhere in the middle. And after Yom Tov, I guess we're gonna resume. But just to consider, the questions that are going back and forth here about what constitutes kviut in the sukkah. Let me surprise my camera here. What constitutes a kviut in the sukkah when you make the bracha? According to Rabbi Eliezer, this maximalist position, which we do ultimately reject, but at least it does give us some kind of a window into the nature of the mitzvah of yeshiva b'sukkah. And ultimately, we do paskin. Teshvu kein taduru means live in the sukkah as you do in your house, except for the first night, where there's another higher level obligation that connects us to the holiday of Pesach in terms of achilat matzah. Okay, we've got a solid hour. I think we got to stop. No.
Yep.
Okay. Well, let me wish everyone to have a proper Kabbalah HaTorah over a time period of Shavuot, Zman Matan Toratenu. And of course, a great time to go over to review Gemara. Regrettably, this is the first year, I think, in our history that I'm aware of that there wasn't able to be a Shavuot where people could get together for learning. But usually we have the Shiur, whatever we're up to in the daf. So we'll have to table it and come back to it, I guess, after Yom Tov. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't learn the Monday night after Yom Tov. That's, I guess, a week from now. So we'll continue at that time.
Okay.
June 1st.